ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਵੈਲਕਮ everybody ਜੀ ਆਇਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਗੁਰਮੁਖ ਪਿਆਰਿਓ thank you for coming we are today on class number 20 and we are going to be doing Pauri number 36 okay so the first verse of Pauri 36 is Gurmukh Naam Dan Ishnan. The translation which is given in your book, which is derived from Sant Singh Khalsa, Sant Singh MD's translation on the internet, the Gurmukh is blessed with the name charity and purification. So let's try and provide a critique for this kind of a translation. Okay. Now the first critique is that when you see the word Gurmukh with a Sihari, then it does not mean the Gurmukh. The Gurmukh is a noun. The Gurmukh would appear with an onkar to the khakha here. This is gaga, this is onkar, so it's pronounced gor, mokh. This Sihari is silent. It is not to be pronounced as gormukhe. It is gormukh. The Sihari is silent, but the Sihari has a grammatical connotation. It is a grammar of Gurbani, just like the onkar after naam. It is not namo, it is naam. This is dan, ishnan. So what is the meaning of this Sihari? This Sihari means Guru de Mokh Vichon. Okay? That's the meaning of the Sihari. You take the Sihari away, it just becomes Guru da Mokha. You put an onkar there, it becomes something else. Yeah? Okay, so Guru de Mokh Vichon. Guru de Mokh Vichon, we are talking about the messages, we are talking about the directions, the instructions of spirituality. You know, Guru de Mokh Vichon, kehte hain. Nanneno kanna mamma, this onkar over here, Nanneno kanna mamma, is not to be pronounced. This means that the naam is the subject of dan. This is not any other kind of dan, but a dan which comes from naam. You must get the meaning of the word naam right, otherwise you get dan also wrong. And you translate it in isolation. So this is what we call a nominative noun. Naam becomes the subject of the verb which is dan. Why does dan have an onkar to it? Because it's a singular. Why does this dan have an onkar? Because it's singular. So everything has got meaning. Once we understand the meaning, this is Gurbani research of Professor Sahib Singh, who first came up with this Gurbani Vyakaran, the discovery of Gurbani grammar in 1960. So prior to 1960, these things were looked as no consequence. Why is there Sihari? You ask the people, they said, well, the Guru felt like putting a Sihari, who are you to ask? Why is there an onkar? The Guru put an onkar, so quit asking. You know? That was the mentality, the thinking until those days, until 1960. The tragedy is, until 1960, 99% of the translations had already been done. So we are all stuck with whatever we have now is following the prior to 1960s. Sant Singh did it after that, but they all relying on what was done before that. So this is why this one, the Gurmukh is blessed with the name charity purification, actually is coming from the Taksali Tikas, the Faridkot Tikas. That's how it is done over there, ignoring the Sihari, ignoring the onkars and ignoring everything and just making up their own stuff. Okay? So that's the first critique we can come up with. Gurmukh with the Sihari is mistranslated as the Gurmukh. So the problem with that is that the Gurmukh is a noun. Sihari makes it very clear it's not a noun, it's an adjective. Second problem is when you start talking about the Gurmukh, then Gurbani becomes a story of the Gurmukh. Gurbani is not a narration of the Gurmukh, a Gurmukh, some Gurmukh. It is not. Otherwise we are all going to start looking for who this Gurmukh is. Gurbani is a narrative of our internal spirituality. It's for me, it's for you. Now the second critique is that Naam, blessed with the name, that's a literal translation. What does it mean, blessed with the name? It really means nothing. So what doesn't help us, doesn't add value to our spirituality, and it doesn't help us advance in the understanding of Gurbani. What is Guru Nanak saying? We simply say blessed with the name, yeah? So we need to go deeper into that. Fourth critique is that charity and purification, yeah, these all need to be understood in the Gurmat context. This is charity part of Gurmat, is purification part of Gurmat? If so, in what context? In what meaning? So that is what we're going to discover first. We're going to understand the meaning of Dan and Ishnan. By the way, the literal translation of Dan is charity. Dan karo. And the literal translation of Ishnan is to take a bath, to purify yourself. Ye karan challe ho, Ishnan karan challe ha. Nahan challe ha. You know, those words are all synonymous. But the spiritual sense, they mean something else. So this is the spiritual definition of Dan and Ishnan in Gurbani. Mag Majjan Sang Sadhua. Okay. Mag Majjan. Majjan is Ishnan. So if you open the dictionary for Ishnan, you'll find the word Bhajan, you'll find the word Nauna, you'll find the word Pani Nal Safai. These are all synonyms. Mag Majjan Sang Sadhua. Does it mean you're going to take a shower with a few sadhus standing around you? That's what it means literally. Yeah? Mag Majjan. So now you begin to understand that this is a different kind of Mag Majjan, different kind of showering, different kind of cleansing, different kind of bathing. Mag Majjan Sang Sadhua. What are you supposed to use, soap and water? No, Turi. Turi Kar Ishnan. You see the depth of Gurbani. You see how concepts are taken from the literal world and given spiritual meanings, given spiritual connotations that we have to dig and find out for ourselves what do they mean. Turi literal sense is dirt. Okay, you take this literally, put a bucket outside there and sweep the Gurdwara and put all the dirt inside, take it home and shower with it. That's the literal meaning. Turi Kar Ishnan. So Rara Hasashyari, it means Turi then all. Use of Turi Kar Ishnan. It's clarified in the next verse, Harka Naam Tyaye Sona. So the meaning of Ishnan, the meaning of Turi is all being put very clearly in these verses, Harka Naam Tyaye Sona. And then tells you what is the meaning of Dan. Sabna no Kar Dan. This is the kind of Dan that you don't have to say how much you have in your pocket. Okay? Sabna no, it's a kind of a Dan that can be done to everybody all the time. Sabna no Kar Dan. Janama Karma Mal Uttara. You see, this is the end result, the outcome of the kind of Ishnan and Dan that Guru is talking about. By the way, this verse is Guru Arjan Pacha. Guru Arjan Pasha is talking about a certain kind of Ishnan, certain kind of Dan, where the outcome is Janama Karma Mal Uttara. Yeah? The impurities. What kind of impurities? Mante Jaye Guman. Very clearly defined that this is the impurity we are concerned with. Guman is ego. Guman is conceit. Guman is pride. Guman is ahankar. So put it all together. I give you the meaning of some of the words in English. So Mag Majjan Ishnan, literally bath, cleansing. Cleansing of the mind. We are not concerned about cleansing of the physical, yeah, because that one the Creator has provided us with an intellect, with the means, with our own decision making processes. We know when to take a shower, we know when to clean ourselves. That's not part and parcel of Gurbani. Spirituality doesn't go into that. That we can decide for our own selves. So this is a different kind. Okay? So it's the cleansing of the mind. Mal uttara, mal mal, impurities, dirt. What kind of impurities are we talking about? You see, Janama Karma Mal uttara. What does it mean, Janama Karma? Janam is through the process of spiritual life. Karam is all the activities that are done in the process of spiritual living. So when we do spirituality in the process of our spiritual journeys, when we do all our acts and all our deeds in process of spiritual journey, spiritual advancement, spiritual inquiry, we, whether we like it or not, we add on impurities. And the biggest impurity is ego, that I know, that I have traveled, that I am better than I was yesterday, that I am reaching my target, that I have reached my target. These are the impurities that we collect in the process of our spiritual journeys. We are not talking about impurities, in the temporal world. Temporal world, the impurities we collect, yes, we learn how to lie, we learn how to pretend, we learn very quickly that even though when things are going wrong, we need to put on a big smile. And we need to know that when, we could have come out of a volcano from the house, but somebody asks you, how are you? Oh, fantastic. Those are the impurities of temporal life. We're not concerned about that. We know how to take care of that. But these are impurities we take on, we build on, we gather on our conscience, on our mind, as we traverse the journey of spirituality. These are dangerous impurities. They need to be cleansed out, otherwise the journey becomes wasted, becomes wasteful, and becomes very pretentious. So that is the mal, impure thoughts. Guman. Tood is actually, in the literal sense, tood is dust. Okay? When tood is used in Gurbani, tood comes with charan tood. Now, in the literal sense, charan tood is the dirt of the feet. Literal sense. Let's be very clear. Nobody's feet has got any value that we need to go and look for the dirt of somebody's feet. Yeah, that is not Gurmat. Now, when the word charan is used in Gurbani, charan is used for the internal messages of the Shabd. Because the feet are in the temporal world, the physical world, the feet give us direction. When you want to go west, you need to point your feet to the west. When you want to go somewhere, your feet are the ones that take you somewhere. So the spiritual journey, the direction of spiritual journey is given by the charan. Charan of the Guru, charan of the Shabd, which means the messages of the Shabd. So Gorke charan always refers to the instructions, the directions, the messages that are within the Shabd. Onu kande Guru ke charan. So when Guru ke charan is used, then the tood of Guru ke charan is the acquiring of those messages, the internalizations, the acceptance of those messages, the reverence towards those messages, the respect towards those messages. That is charan tood. So Turi Kar Ishnan means, now we know what the impurity is. The impurity is ego in the mind. It's Guman. And so we need to clean out that ego. The ego can only be cleaned out through the process of reverence, through the process of accommodation, internalization of the Shabd's messages. Once the Shabd's messages start to internalize, we begin to realize that basically what we are is beyond minuscule. Then the ego starts to take a back seat. Then we begin to realize how small we are, in the universe of spirituality, in the universe of the Creator, how tiny, how minuscule. Jeko nao taraye vada sad kare man pane khasme nadri kida ave jete chuge dane. See? Now, comparatively, in our own mind, we may think we are somebody, we are something, and we can achieve a lot. But when we start to compare with the Creator or with the Guru's, spiritual wisdoms out there within us in the Gurbani, then we begin to realize that we are minuscule. So that is how Charan Tur, the reverence and the respect towards the messages of the Shabd, takes care, provides a cure, and puts our ego into place. So that is what it means, Charan Tur. Harka naam tyaaye sona, sabna no kardan. You see, what is to be kardan? What in spirituality of Sikhi is accepted as worthy of distribution, worthy of giving, worthy of sharing. Har ka naam dhyaye sun. Har ka naam means the virtues of the Creator. Now, the acquisition of the virtues of the Creator, the living of the virtues of the Creator, the becoming of the virtues of the Creator creates a certain life, certain values that we spread not by talking and not by sharing, but by living them. So the biggest daan that we can make, the biggest charity that we can offer to the spiritual world is to live the spiritual values by example. So we do charity without ever having to hold our hand out. We do charity without ever having to say a single word, without having ever had to make a single announcement. Just the fact that we are living the virtues and we are a living, walking, breathing example of Sikhi virtues, of godly virtues, that is the daan that is accepted in Sikh Gurmat. ਕਿੱਥੇ ਦੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਲਾਉਂ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਦਾਨ ਕਰੋ ਜੀ। So $10, $10,000, $10 million that we talk about, we consider it as daan. Okay? But really, that goes against the grain of what the daan is, because what in the ultimate, what we were supposed to do is mante jaye guman. But in the process of us, handing out the money and giving it out, what's happening is we are actually building guman, building conceit by saying that if not because of me, this charity home wouldn't have been built. Not because of me, this Gurdwara couldn't have been built. Not because of me, Gurdwara won't run. Not because of me, there will be nobody doing kirtan. So those things come because we have applied the concept in a temporal sense to spirituality. Giving of money, sharing of material, sharing of wealth is encouraged in spirituality in the temporal world, but it is not a spiritual act. That's an act of humanity. People who are spiritual do it, people who are not spiritual do it. People who don't even believe in God do it, because that's part of humanity. That's encouraged. But in the spiritual process, it is about manate jaye guman. It is about janam karma mal utare. It is about har ka naam dhyaye sun. Then we do the daan. And it is about majjan sang sadhua. What is the meaning of majjan sang sadhua? Sadhu refers to Guru. Sadhu refers to Guru in Gurbani. So the Guru is the Shabd. Sang means to be on the same wavelength, to be in the company of. So when we come in the company of the Shabd, what does it mean? When we come in the company of the Shabd, it means it's a sharing of messages. The mind, the human mind begins to realize that the Shabd's messages are meant for me. Sharing takes place. The Shabd's messages are meant for me to live, meant for me to internalize. Onu ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਸੰਗ। ਹਾਂਜੀ। Guman in the temporal sense, yeah, is ego, is conceit. In the Bani sense, Guman is hame dirgha rog hai. It is a spiritual infliction of the mind that tells us that we are in control of our spirituality, that we know that we are in charge, and that we can somehow overcome the processes of nature, of creation, of hukam. In the spiritual sense, the Gurbani sense, any act of challenging the hukam, any act of going against the hukam, any act of even wanting to circumvent the hukam, is all Guman. Because the hukam is tu and Guman is I. And tu and I are two sides of the same coin. So once the coin of I is flipped in my favor, then I am operating on my I, denying the tu. But really spirituality is about splitting the tu. Bhakta Ravdas says very clearly, Jab hum hote, when I exist, when my ego exists, when the coin is flipped on my side, that I am in charge, that I know, that I can live without the other side, the two of it, the hukam, the command, the justice, the universal law, I can exist without it, or I am somehow able to circumvent it. जब हम होते तब तू नहीं, अब तू ही, फिर मैं नहीं. So the most succinct, the briefest one-line definition of answer to your question, what is Gurman spiritually? Gurman spirituality is to deny the Creator's hukam. Jasa Pasha says, Homme dirg rog hai, daru is the cure. Daru pi is mahe, is with Sasenu Onkar, which means the mind. So the affliction is one of the mind, and the cure for that affliction is also within the mind. So when the mind begins to realize, Singhj and Bhuj, understand and realize and know that I need to operate within the command of the Creator, the hukam of the Creator within me, then the affliction begins to be taken care of. The disease begins to be able to work on the journey of getting a cure.
No, I was talking about Gurman in the temporal sense.
Now in the temporal sense, sometimes that can be beneficial, sometimes that can be detrimental. Yeah. Now we are given an intellect to figure out when it is detrimental, when sometimes it gives you the confidence. You need the confidence. Imagine you are going to war, you are a general of a war, you are going to war with 300 people against 30,000 people. Now what's the biggest conceit that you can stand up there and say, a general who makes a speech to 300 people, this war is ours to be won. I mean, you look at it, this is ego, this is conceit, this is stupidity even, But sometimes that's the kind of confidence that actually causes 300 people to take on 30,000 people. It has happened in history. So in the temporal sense, there's good and bad. In the spiritual sense, it does not have any good. All it has is negativity. So we have to bring it within the confines of spirituality. We have to bring in within the confines of the hukam. We are not talking about eliminating Gurman in the spiritual sense in totality. Now that obviously cannot happen, yeah, because then self-image, Punjabi vich ankh te gairat kehne a, dignity, yeah, dignity of the self. Now that is very, very important in spirituality. We need dignity of the self because we need to be able to stand up when things are going wrong, stand up for the right, stand up for the downtrodden, stand up for people who need to be given a voice. So that all needs ankh and gairat. So that is why in spirituality we are more often concerned with fine tuning, bringing them into certain paradigms, into certain parameters, controlling of the five vices. So the five vices, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Ahankar, Gurman, are actually, they are provided by nature. It is part of the human makeup. Gurbani doesn't talk about getting rid of them or killing them. Gurbani talks about, putting them in control, putting them in parameters, or if you like the word, tuning them, fine tuning them. So the five vices are basically five strings of a musical instrument called the mind. So the mind has five strings. Now when the strings are out of tune, they create noise. They create noise. And the noise is, I can do it, I am great, I am getting there, I know the way, I am reached there, I found God, I know the Guru. That's the noise that goes on. So imagine five completely out of tune strings creating noise. Now once you start to tune them one by one, then they start to create music. Out of tune strings create noise, tuned strings create music. Kabir jo hum jant bajavate. Kabir says that my mind has got 5 strings. Jant is an instrument, a musical instrument. So I have a mind which has got 5 strings, and I am supposed to create celestial godly music out of these 5. What is the meaning of celestial godly music? In other words, I am supposed to remember God, I am supposed to live by the virtues of the Creator, and be an example that my presence will be music to humanity around me. Yeah? Kabir jo hum jant bajavte toot gaye sab taar. Not only are they out of tune, they are all broken. Absolutely broken. Jant vichara kya kare? So why blame the poor instrument? You see, jant vichara kya kare? Now how? So stop, quit shouting at the instrument and say, make some music. Hello, the strings are broken. Kabir jo hum jant bajavate toot gaye sab taar, jant vichara kya kare, chala bajavan har. The fault, the problem lies with the bajavanhar, which is the mind, the player, the one who is going to take out the notes of music. So we are supposed to be understanding first of all these 5 inflictions that we have in our mind. Then we are supposed to learn from the Shabd, from Gurbani, ways or means of bringing them into control. Each one of them, when tuned, will have a slightly different name and a different connotation. Goman, when it is tuned, it becomes Garath, it becomes Anak, it becomes self-dignity. That's very important. All the Bhagats, all the Gurus had a high level of self-dignity. They wouldn't let society around them, they wouldn't let the Pandits around them, the Bullahs around them, the relatives and anybody else, put them down or dismiss them, or just put them out of the parameter of society. They wouldn't let that happen. They stood their ground. Even when they were just one in a crowd of millions, they stood their ground. Kam, which is a desires, once it is controlled, it becomes a desire to acquire virtues. The desire is still there, except that it has now been reoriented, and the object, the subject of the desire now becomes virtuous living, now becomes enlightenment. Yeah. So, Krodh, which is anger, right, when it is in tune, it becomes Savaiman. Guru Nanak has got to fight injustices. He is going to stand up there and speak up to Babar and tell him that you are unjust, that you are causing great distresses. Now, that is not said in anger, it is said in what we call in Punjabi language Bir Rasa. Bir Rasa, the closest English translation would be chivalry. It is a kind of emotion, a kind of feeling. It's all positive, it's for the good. But it tells you that this is for me to do. This is my this is my calling, this is my duty. I am going to stand up and speak. I am going to stand up and correct the wrong. I am going to stand up and give voice to the downtrodden or to somebody. So that feeling that it is my calling, that feeling that this is my responsibility, that feeling that the Creator has put me here for this purpose, that is not done in anger. That is not conceit, that is not pride. You see, so there are the positives in a spiritual sense, to all these things, and Gurbani gives us all these answers on how to do it. So many exemplifications. When Namdev is being put to death, everybody is trying to give him all kinds of suggestions, pay money, weigh you in gold and release you. Eventually it comes down to this. They tell him, well, let's just settle it at one point. The king tells him, just say Allah a few times and I'll let you go. That's about it. You're a holy man, He says, no, I won't say it. You see? Now, is that pride? Is that conceit, ego? No, this is self-dignity. I'm not going to be pushed around because you're a king or because my life is at stake. I will say it in my moj. When I want to say it, when my conscience commands me from within. Jo to the pave sai palikar. When my conscience commands me from within that I need to say Allah, I will say it. When I say Ram, so they pointed to him there, your own writings all over the place, Karima, Rahima, Allah, Tu, Gani. This is Namdev Shabd. You have used it before. His mom comes and tells him that you have used it before, what's wrong in using it today? When I used it in my own violation, in my own decision, my own style, my own need, my own want. Apni mauj vich. ਤੇ ਆਨੰਦ ਵੀ ਉਦੋਂ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਮੌਜ ਵਿੱਚ. So I hope we understand what Dan is and what Ishnan is in the spiritual sense. Yeah. So in one sentence, Dan is living by godly, virtuous examples. That's Dan. Because people around us look at us and then there is an effect, there is an impact. And Ishnan is the process of cleansing the mind of the vices, tuning the vices and bringing them into control, into the paradigms of spirituality through the instructions and messages of the Guru's Shabd. Odu kehde hai Dan te Ishnan. So we come back to the verse, Gurmukh Naam Dan Ishnan. Gurmukh from within the Guru's mind, referring to the messages within the Shabd, and summarized it would mean the spirituality of the Shabd. So when we use the term spirituality of the Shabd, it means spirituality which is driven by the Shabd, which is instructed by the Shabd, spirituality whose aims and goals and objectives are defined by the Shabd, and spirituality that follows the instructions of the Shabd. Odu sare nu kehde are spirituality of the Shabd. Naam refers to godly virtues. Dan, in the literal sense, donation, but we just discovered from that verses just now that it is basically exemplary, virtuous living. That's the real Dan. Ishnan, literally a bath, but really cleansing the mind of primarily of ego and conceit. So now we put it all together. Gurmukh Naam Dan Ishnan, the meaning of this verse, Gurmukh Pyareo, is that the spirituality of the Shabd cleanses the mind of ego, enables an exemplary life of godly virtues. So I hope you can see the big difference from the translation, the literal translation, the Gurmukh is blessed with name, charity and purification, as opposed to this spirituality of the Shabd. Now this is adding value. We know what to do, which is cleansing the mind of ego. We also know the real meaning of the word Dan, which is living an exemplary life of godly virtues, and we know where to get it from, where to learn that from, where to pick it up from, and that's spirituality of the Shabd. We move on to the next verse, Gurmukh Pyareo. Gurmukh lagya Singhj dhyan. So the meaning, according to the book, is the Gurmukh centers his meditation on the celestial Lord. So we need to talk about three things which are requiring improvement in these verses, in this translation. Again, number one, Gurmukh with the Syari is mistranslated as the Gurmukh. Centers his meditation. This is a literal translation. And again, not very helpful. What is the meaning of centering the meditation? And anyway, centering of meditation is not a Gurmat concept. Gurmat doesn't talk about this kind of things. All these meditation and centering and this and that, these were found in the existing spiritualities during Guru Nanak's days. So there was meditation out there in the Vedic sense, there was meditation in the yogic spiritualities, in the Sidh people, it was all out there. Okay? So Guru Nanak has used some of these concepts, dhyan for instance, and he has given them authentic Sikh spiritual meanings, and so our job is to find the meanings of these concepts. Yeah. So let's look at the words one by one. Gurmukh, the same meaning, Gurmukh Pyareo, from within the Guru's mind. In other words, spirituality of the Shabd. Lagya is to either create or to enable. Huh? Sahaj, the opposite of Sahaj is Hatha. In other words, to force something, yeah, to work on something. Now, when something becomes very habitual, something becomes part and parcel of our life on a daily basis, onu Sahaj kehande hai. So that's intuitive, it's instinctive, it's become part of the spiritual processes already. So that's where we want to take things. We want to take things to the Sahaj level, so we don't have to, all the time be forcing ourselves to do something. And Dhyan, in the context of this Shabd, really simply means focus. Yeah. So remember the earlier verse, yeah? Gurmukh naam Dan Ishnan. And now we are talking about Gurmukh Lagya Sahaj Dhyan. So we're going to combine these verses and use what we call context to come up with the meaning of this verse. Gurmukh Lagya Sahaj Dhyan. So the spirituality of the Shabd enables instinctive focus on what? On the previous verse. On living a life of godly virtues, on Naam, Dan, Ishnan. You see, so this is the value of context. It really helps us understand Gurbani verses properly and accurately when we are able to bring context into the understanding. So what we want to do is not just Naam, Dan, Ishnan, but that Dan, that living, the life of godly virtues, it has got to be instinctive. So that is the level where we want to take our spirituality to the Sahaj level, to the instinctive, intuitive kind of a level. Next verse, Gurmukh Pyareo, Gurmukh Pave Dargah Man. Gurmukh Pave Dargah Man, the Gurmukh obtains honor in the court of the Lord. See, so you see, these are translations that are done in isolation, where the context of the first two verses is totally ignored, as if the two verses didn't exist. So this is a common mistake we make when we start taking verses in isolation and just try to make sense of that one single verse. So where did the court of Lord suddenly come from, this and that? Yeah, you start to begin to ask all those questions. So again, Gurmukh with the Syari mistranslated. Secondly, Dargah as a court of Lord is a literal translation. We need to go deeper than that. And when you say obtains honor in the court of Lord, you are kind of suggesting that there is some kind of a location where there is a court of Lord. Now we know the Lord is everywhere. So when somebody is everywhere, the court is also everywhere. Yeah. So Gurmat does not accept this notion that the court of God, of the Lord, is in a certain location or in a certain time frame, which means it comes into operation, which means the doors open after we die. Before that, the doors are closed. But we go knocking and serving the summonses on the day we die. No? So the Gurmat doesn't accept any of these or both three of these positions. Number one, that the court of the Lord is a certain location. Gurmat doesn't accept that. That the court of the Lord operates in a certain part of our life, especially after we die. Gurmat does not accept that. So these two things are knocked out in Gurmat. We have to come to the meanings of what Gurmat means when these words are used. So Gurmukh again, spirituality of the Shabd. Pave, receive, provides, accords. Because we are going to use the word, Parsha is using the word man, which is dignity. Dignity is accorded. That's why the word accorded would make a better translation. Now Dargah in Gurmat refers to the conscience within. So you see the two principles of Dargah in other spirituality, certain location, certain time frame, knocked out. It is the conscience within. And why is it the conscience within? Because the Lord is within, the Creator is within. The Creator is the driver of the conscience. So it is about according dignity, it's about receiving dignity in the eyes of our own conscience. See, now you begin to understand the meaning of the word Singhj. See, intuitive now. If we are acting virtuous in a prepared mind state, in a forced mind state, then because our conscience knows that is a pretentious, a fake, false, prepared situation, the conscience knows we are fake. So the conscience will not accord us the dignity, the respect. That's where the Gurmat Dargah is. And that judgment is taking place all the time, instantaneously. Each time we commit a thought, I haven't even gone to an act. Each time the mind generates a thought, the conscience speaks. Now it's up to the mind now whether to silence the conscience or whether to listen to it. So this is where we want to take our spirituality to a state whereby the conscience would have a say over our thought generation, over our speech, over our actions. The conscience. Why? Because the conscience is the voice of the Creator within us. That can never go wrong. That's why Pasha says in Jap Bani, Jo Tod Pave, Sai Palikar. When I begin to listen to my conscience, then all that you command me from within my conscience is pala, is pali, is good, is virtuous, is spiritual, is acceptable. It never goes wrong. See? Why? Because tu sada slamat nirankar, because you actually are the ultimate voice of my conscience at all times, sada. Okay, so we put it all together. Gorbak Pave Dargah Man means the spirituality of the Shabd accords my conscience the dignity of living a life of godly virtues. So it is not just living a life of godly virtues, but living a life in the instinctive, in the intuitive sense, the Singhj sense. It is not just living it in the Singhj sense, it is also about living it at the conscience level. In Urdu, the word conscience is zamir. The word body is sarir. And they have a beautiful saying in Urdu, zamana sarir ka nahi zamir ka hai. Live a life not on the basis of the physical, but live a life on the basis of your conscience. In other words, the conscience is the one that's driving our life. That's what Padsha is trying to encapsulate in this verse here. Yeah? Spirituality of the Shabd accords conscience the dignity. So when the conscience is dignified, it stands with pride and speaks as the Creator's voice. Then nothing can go wrong. Yeah? Then spirituality is on the right sense. So in some ways then what we are learning from here is that the messages of the Shabd are actually driven towards our conscience, driven towards awakening our conscience, driven towards empowering our conscience. When the conscience is empowered, it becomes being able to speak, becomes loud, becomes clear, and is able to speak up with dignity. Okay, the next verse, Gurmukh Pyare, Gurmukh Pao Panjan Pradhan. The Gurmukh, the translation given to us, the Gurmukh obtains the Supreme Lord, the destroyer of fear. Okay. Now, we can think of two critiques. Number one, the same Gurmukh being mistranslated as the Gurmukh. Obtains the spiritual Lord. This is a literal translation, but I really don't know where the word obtain is in the verse. Pao Panjan Pradhan. Pradhan actually means lead. Yeah? But anyway, obtaining is not what we call a Gurmat principle. Realizing is. We are supposed to realize the Creator because the Creator has already been obtained within us. None of us can live without the Creator being within. The Sacha, Jugad Sacha, happy Sach Nanak Hosi Pi Sach. The Creator has been within me from the point of my conception. It is still within me now, and it will be within me till the last moments of my life. Hosi Pi Sach. So what is there to obtain? It is not about obtaining. It is about realizing. It is a baby that is born with $1 million in the bank. Is there any issue now about obtaining the money from the bank? I mean, you are born with it. It takes a very foolish person now to start writing a whole treatise about how to obtain that money. Hello, it's already obtained. So now the question is, does the baby realize or not? If the baby doesn't realize, then whether the money is in the bank or under the mattress, it is meaningless, because no realization has come. Absolutely. So realization has to come. That's a process. In English language, we call it growing up. The kid has to grow up. The kid has to understand how the world operates. He has to understand the meaning of money. He has to understand that $1 million is different from a gold $1. For a kid, that gold $1 can be bigger than the $1 million, yeah? He has to understand all these things. That is called realization. That comes. So once the realization comes, and let's say for this kid the realization comes at age 18, then we say that 18 is when he actually became the owner of the million, which was already there from the first day. So spirituality is, the Creator within us is like that in Sikhi. Always been there. Our job is not to go obtain it or find it, or it's to realize it. That's where the purposes of Gurbani and Shabd come into play, to create the realization, a permanent realization, not a forced, temporary, fake kind of a realization that is such that the conscience becomes the horse of the cart of our spiritual journey. So the horse then drives the cart. The cart is the mind. The conscience drives the mind. The mind can never take a wrong thought, a wrong deed, a wrong turn, or a wrong word once the conscience is put in front of the cart. Our conscience is not at the back of the cart, is actually under the wheels of the cart. That's where our conscience is, Vichari. So where is the cart going to go? I have no idea. Let's proceed with the meanings of the words. Gurmukh pao panjan pradhan Gurmukh, from within the Guru's mind, spirituality of the Shabd. Pao, fear. If you put a kana in between the pabba and the ura, it becomes love. Just one kana will change the meaning. In Gurbani, panjan is a process of elimination. Dictionary meaning of panjan is to break, destruct, remove. Pradhan, leading. Now we need to read it this way. Gurmukh creates a panjan, creates an elimination, creates a removal. A removal of what? Of pao pradhan. Okay, so you take this third word out first for the purposes, and look at pao pradhan. So pao pradhan is the leading fear, the mother of all fears, the fear of fear. Now we have all kinds of fears, but the biggest fear that we all have is the fear of death. And it is the fear of death, actually, in the ultimate analysis, that takes our spirituality on a wayward journey, where we tell the conscience to go under the wheels. It is the fear of death that makes us do that. Once the fear of death is removed, Pasha says, "Peh kahu ko detna na peh maan taan." When that process happens, okay, then the conscience is able to have its proper and complete existence. The existence of the conscience is put down because of the fear of death. The mind is at all times in the paradigm of fear of death, and we are running around trying to take care of this major fear of death. So much so that from the point of waking to the point of sleeping, all of human endeavor is about escaping the fear of death and escaping death. Isn't that what life is all about? At every turn, we want to postpone death. We want to negate death. And when that becomes Sahaj Subha in our temporal life, it transfers into our spiritual life. Spiritual life too becomes a journey of the mind taking care of the fears of death. Sache Pasha Tandrusti Dai. What is that? Sache Pasha Bakshis Kari Lammi Umar Bakshi Dirugayu Bakshi this and that, this and that. All behind this are basically fear of dying. So this is very, very important. The path of spirituality that has to be eliminated. And Patsha eliminates it very simply. Yeah? The phrases about physical death in Gurbani are simple. Jodan ave sodan jahi karna kuj rahan thirnahi. Simple. As the day comes and the day goes, you are going to come and you are going to go. Bas gal muki. Sara dar le gaya. Cha ho je pata hi hai vi aaye yahan te jana pavega. Isi kalle aave nanaka sadde uthe jaye. Once, very simple, 5-6 verses have settled the whole thing. The rest of it is all about spiritual death. Thousands and thousands of verses about a death that can be prevented, that must be prevented. The way to prevent spiritual death at the very basic level is to eliminate the death of temporal death, physical death. When we cannot, so long as the fear of physical death lingers, we have no time for spiritual death or spiritual life. The mind is totally occupied. So, Gurmukh kapau panjan pradhan. The spirituality of Shabd eliminates the fear of all fears, the mother of all fears, which is the fear of death. Then the context of the earlier verses comes in, allowing my conscience the dignity of living a life of godly virtues. See, the thing that is stepping on the head of the conscience from existing in a dignified manner in our lives is the fear of physical death. The other side of the coin of the fear of physical death is the desire to live on and on and on and on. And it is the desire to keep on living, Gurmukh Pyareo, that actually, forces us to keep our conscience silent, to keep our conscience oppressed. Compare this again with the literal translation that we have. Gurmukh obtains the Supreme Lord, the destroyer of fear. Yeah? Doesn't add value, doesn't give us much depth, doesn't give us meaning. In fact, you can say it is not useful, yeah, in our practical spirituality. So these are the kind of meanings that we strive for. How do we do it? This is very practical. Yeah, it's possible by everybody. We talk about the conscience, we talk about the dignity of the conscience, we talk about allowing a life of virtuousness in the Sahaj sense. How is it going to happen? What is the big thing that is preventing that from happening? What is the big obstacle? What's the big elephant in the room that's causing the havoc? That's the fear of death. That's the desire to live on and on. So we are paralyzed with this fear of death, coupled with the paralyzed with the desire of wanting to live on and on. That's why the conscience takes a back seat and we have no time for the spirituality that the Shabd is trying to tell us to escape spiritual death. Next verse, Gurmukh Pyareo, Gurmukh karni kar karaye. A translation given to us: the Gurmukh does good deeds and inspires others to do so. Okay, we only have one critique here. The Gurmukh with the Syari mistranslated as a Gurmukh. Yeah? So let's look at the words one by one and see whether this whole business of doing good deeds and inspiring others to do so, yeah, if you have already understood the meaning of Dan in the first verse, Gurmukh Naam Dan Ishnan, okay, and in such the word Dan there is being translated in such a high spiritual level, then you know that this talk about inspiring others and all that falls in the temporal world, yeah, falls at a very low level. Yeah. Anyway, let's look at the words. Gurmukh, the same word, spirituality of the Shabd. Karni is something that's worthy. Now, because we are talking about spirituality, so it's worthy of spirituality. So when we say our job, our career is worthy, we are talking about the job per se all the time. We are talking about the impact, yeah, the outcome of the job that we do. And one of the outcomes of the job is the amount of money we earn. So when we say I have a good job, I have a worthy job, it means it pays me well. Well, there are other criteria. It also means I enjoy it, I'm happy, and so on. But it is not the job per se, but it is the outcome per se. So in the same way, Karni, it's the earnings of spiritual deeds, but really the worth of what we do is whether our spirituality progresses or not. That's what Karni really means. Kar is deeds. Karai is performing or undertaking. So this is the translation. The spirituality of Shabd enables the performance of spiritually worthy deeds within a conscience freed from the fear of death. In our spiritual journey, we want to perform spiritual deeds, but we want to perform deeds that are worthy. Karni. Another word for that in Gurbani is also kamai. Kamai karni. To bring in the worth, yeah, to add value to our spiritual deeds. So Bani then tells us the kind of Naam, the kind of Dan, the kind of Ishnan that would add value to our spiritual, to this body. It's at that spiritual level. And we have to bring in the context in the previous verse, which is within a conscience that is freed from fear of death. Why is that important? For the simple reason that when the conscience is not freed from the fear of death, then even our spiritual deeds are always performed in a non-worthy manner. When we perform spiritual deeds driven by the fear of death or driven by a desire to live, then the worth, the outcome, the results, the payback, the paycheck of those deeds is nil. It's temporal. Then all we can say is, I have done so many parts, I have done so many Saj parts, so many Khanda parts, so many Jodmelas, so many Langars, then those deeds will fall in that category. Because they were neither able to free us from the fear of death, neither were they able to allow our conscience to live and speak up with dignity. So that's why that Karni word is critical. That Kamai word is critical. Once we overlook that, or we just gloss over it, or don't understand it, then the verse doesn't come out in the full sense. Yeah? So we are not just talking about the deeds, we are talking about the worth of the deeds, the spiritual worth of the deeds, whether they add value to our spiritual life. And the final verse of this Pauri 36, Gurmukh Pyare of Sidh Goshat is Nanak. Nanak Kakka does not have an onkar. What does it mean? it is a noun, what kind of a noun is it? Yeah? In Punjabi we said it is not a karta karak noun. It is not a nominative noun. In other words, Nanak without an onkar, the kakka, is not the subject of the verse. If Guru Nanak was the subject, then Guru Nanak is the Gurmukh. Guru Nanak is telling very clearly by removing the onkar that I am not the subject of this verse. I am not saying I am the Gurmukh. So you will never get that if we do not pay attention to the grammar. Only now we know that because there is no onkar there, this verse has to be read in a different way. Nanak Gurmukh mel milai, and not to be read as Nanak Gurmukh mel milai, Nanak the Gurmukh. You see where we are going? Here is a Guru telling us, Mag bhajan kar sadhua turi kar isnan, har ka naam te aaye sun sabna no kardan. He is telling us about manate jahe guman, har ka naam te aaye sun, manate jahe guman. How can he create guman that I am the Gurmukh? So these are the subtleties, the subtleties of understanding Gurbani through grammar. So Nanak Gurmukh mel milai. The translation Gurmukh unites in the Lord's union. Well, Gurmukh again is mistranslated, and the second critique is that unites in the Lord's union. Now, I frankly I don't know what that means. Yeah, what does it mean by? I can understand unite in the Lord, but unite in the Lord's union. Yeah, so it's verbiage. Yeah? So Gurmukh, we are clear about that. So male has a sihari to it. Now, of course, the literal sense of male is, to bring together. But we already know that, the $1 billion is already in the bank. There's no need to bring it together anymore. The Creator is already within in the form of the conscience. Okay? So the male has a sihari to say that we are talking about a melai, a realization of the male that is already within. So melai, realization of the Creator. So this is the meaning. Nanak, the spirituality of the Shabd enables realization of the Creator within. So the entire purpose of the whole verses from Nan, Gurmukh Namdan is Nan all the way down is to be able to come to a situation of realization of the Creator within us. What a Paurees, so much of depth of spirituality in this body. Are there any questions, any comments before we move to the next body? Yes, Ji.
Just a reflection. That means that the Durga is not a place up there where you're judged.
Yes.
It is inside here.
Correct. Yeah.
Because you're judged all the time.
Yes. This business of, place and time doesn't apply to the Creator. That's the basic principle, foundational principle of Gurmat. Yeah. That's why we call him the omnipotent and the omnipresent. So there is no such thing as the Creator being in a certain place. Why? Because when you say the Creator is in place A, then you are saying maybe he's not in place B. Yeah? That's no for Gurmat. When you say he is in a particular time, which means he only comes into operation after you die, then you are saying that he is in a particular time frame, then he doesn't exist in another time frame. No, that cannot be. Yeah? So those two principles are negated. Dargah in the literal sense is a court. Raje di Dargah, king's court. So a king's court is not, take a courthouse, a judge's court. Yeah. Now we tend to think that the court refers to the walls and the roof and the building. Not really. The judge sits under a tree and hits the gravel, that's the court. And lots of courts actually sit that way. Yeah? There's no real necessity to be at the courthouse. Now there are many emergencies when lawyers, prosecutors, people need a warrant of arrest urgently, people need an order urgently, in the middle of the night. People's life is at stake, somebody is going to be hung at 4 o'clock in the morning. Are you going to wait for the courthouse to open at 10 o'clock in the morning after he's already hung? No. Where do you go? You knock on the judge's house, all right? And he comes down with or without his robes. And the lawyers are summoned before him, the prosecutor is summoned. He sits in his living room, on the kitchen, dining room. All he needs is a gravel to say that, pop, now court is in session. What's your issue? So apply that same principle. The king, wherever he goes, people gather that the king holding court. So what do we say about the Creator who is everywhere? The Creator is everywhere, therefore his court is everywhere. Where is my court? That's the question. Where is the court within which my actions, my deeds, my thoughts are going to be evaluated, going to be judged? That's the Creator's court within me. Because the Creator is within me, therefore the Creator's court is within me. And that's the conscience, right, in my mind. Just say one word, the conscience speaks and says, that's the right word, that's the wrong word, don't say that again. That's the judgment, it's going on all the time. Whether we want to listen to it or not, that's up to us. That is why ours is a spirituality that is for the here and the now, because there is no spirituality in the hereafter or the here before. It is the here and the now. So everything has to happen in the here and the now, including the Dargah, including the Chitragupta, including the Lekha-Pata, including everything. All the decisions are going to be made now, and because they are made here and now, they are made instantaneously. That's the beauty of Sikhi, that's the novelty of Sikhi, that's the Nanak Nirmal Panth Chalaya of Sikhi, not to be found in anywhere else in the world. Nobody talks about spirituality in the here and now. Spirituality is always separated from the temporal and after the temporal. Okay? Haji.
So there's no such thing as Prishli Janam. Is something written in your karma, that's why these things happen to you.
Right.
You know how some people say all those things. Why this bad thing happened?
पिछले जन्म अगला जन्म all are written, this is your karma, this is fate, FATE, likhya hoya. These are all spiritual concepts that were pre-existing before Guru Nanak came. 1468 they were all there. So if we are saying Guru Nanak came and added nothing, then I want to ask the question, why did Guru Nanak have to come? That's the first question a Sikh should ask. That Guru Nanak came, there must be something. And then there is no need to go asking around for the something, because the something is there in the 1429 pages. So that we can find out. So he has taken all these concepts. And the reason why he took these concepts was because he realized that these concepts were wrong, that they were actually impeding human progress, both in spirituality and in temporal. He realized that the biggest obstacle to human being, progressing in spirituality as well as temporal, was these wrong thoughts, wrong concepts, fake and false concepts that had been created by the clergy for the purposes of control of the human mind. I mean, these are excellent tools of control. They control the human mind. So clergy created all these things, and Guru Nanak had to get rid of them. And the way he got rid of them is to redefine them in a novel, unique way and apply them in life now, here, and give us a totally new understanding of spirituality, of life, of the Creator, of our karma, of everything. Karma is redefined as deeds. Past life is defined as the 1 second that just went by. How beautiful. How nice. And the future is, the next Janam is described as the second that's going to come after the present second. What does that mean? That means the only thing that I need to bother with is my now. It's my 8:30. Because 8:30 is soon going to become 8:31. And then at 8:31, 8:30 will become the past. You see, I have control now. I have control over my past. I have control over my present. And I have control over my future. How? By being in control of my present. I have absolute control of my past and my future. So once I get that right, then I have no more fears. I have no more worries. Then I'm liberated. This is what we call the Mukta Panth. The Mukta Panth, and it is called Jivan Mukta because we want this Mukta, this liberation, while we are alive. So everything is put into the parameters of from life till death, and we can achieve it all within there. It's liberating. It takes away the fear. You see, how else are we going to get rid of all the fears we're talking about, the fear of death, the desire to live on and on? There's no other way but by re-engineering our thoughts, reconstituting our spiritual concepts, by getting a new and novel understanding of what it is all about, and then pursuing that novelty. Then we are liberated, we are free, we have no more fears of all these things. Otherwise we are going to be caught in that cycle forever, the cycle of fear. So these pre-1468 spiritualities were all about, this is temporal, that is spiritual. Guru Nanak says the spiritual and temporal are combined. When it says the verse Karni kar karaye, that Karni, the spiritual worth, can be derived from temporal deeds as well. Can I say that again? Because temporal and spirituality is combined, although we are looking for spiritual worth, spiritual karani, spiritual earnings, spiritual kamai, it can also be earned from temporal deeds. A doctor who performs his doctoral duties diligently, properly, does not overcharge, doesn't send people for unnecessary tests. A lawyer who charges the right amounts, who takes it upon himself to fight for the rights of no matter who it is, there are spiritual earnings. See the beauty of Guru Nanak combining it here and the now. When that kind of a doctor does all that and goes home for the day, and the conscience will speak that night. Baljit, you did right today. That is the spiritual dividend that can never come from a $70,000 check that the client gives you, or the $100,000 check that the lawyer collects another day. No. The spiritual karani. So Guru Nanak combined it all. But then you have another lawyer who's a big lying, deceiving, cheating fellow, but gets up in the morning at 5 o'clock and does his Nitnem, goes to Gurdwara. Now you talk about that. Because the two are combined, you see. Not only does he get zero earning from his temporal lying and cheating, he gets negative from his spiritual pretenses. Because his spirituality is a pretense, is a pakhanda, is a show, is a prepared mind spirituality. This is a novelty. But the existing was temporal here, spiritual after you die. Then came a group of people and said, but you do temporal, we will do your spiritual here for you to take care of your afterlife. These people were called the clergy. Bolo Satnam Sri Vaheguru. Now you understand? A beautiful way of making money. Beautiful way of controlling people. So that's what the pre-1468 was all about. Of course, we brought that into our Sikhi now. Sikhi now is basically that. Temporal here, spiritual next life. And then we have the Babbe, the Dera fellows, the Granthis, the Pathis, God knows, you name them. They do it for you. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਮਾਈਆਂ ਕਰੋ, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਟਾਈਮ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਪਾਠ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ, ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਪਾਠ ਕਰਕੇ ਨਾ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹਦੀ ਕਰਨੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਵੱਲ ਡਾਇਵਰਟ ਕਰ ਦਿਆਂਗੇ, ਅਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ 70,000 ਦਾ ਚੈੱਕ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਡਾਇਵਰਟ ਕਰ ਦਿਓ। ਵਾਟ ਅ ਡੀਲ, ਬਿਊਟੀਫੁਲ ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਵਧੀਆ ਕੰਮ ਹੈ। ਐਂਡ ਵੀ ਆਰ ਵੈਰੀ ਹੈਪੀ ਵਿਦ ਇਟ, ਬਿਕੋਜ਼ ਦੈਨ ਵੀ ਨੋ ਇਹ ਪਾਠ ਪੂਠ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਨਹੀਂ, ਬਾਬਾ ਕਰਦਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ। So we go and earn a living, and when we channel our funds, they have the best of both worlds. You know, we earn our butts off to get the 70,000. They sleep the whole day and get part of the 70,000. We get it from one client, they get it from all of us, and they can make more than the money that we ever make. They get the best of both worlds. They get it all free, sleeping. ਕੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ? ਸਵੇਰੇ ਉੱਠ ਕੇ ਦੁੱਧ ਪੀ ਲਿਆ 5-7 ਗੜਵੇ ਭਰ ਕੇ, you know, ਚੂਰੀ ਖਾ ਲਈ, ਕੇਲੇ ਆ ਗਏ, ਬੀਬੀ ਆ ਗਈ ਸਿਓ ਲੈ ਕੇ, ਨਰੰਜੀਆਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ, ਫਿਰ ਬੀਬੀ ਆ ਗਈ ਰਜਮਾ ਸਾਗ ਬਣਾਇਆ ਜੀ, ਖਾਈ ਜਾਓ ਖਾਈ ਜਾਓ, ਖਾ ਖਾ ਕੇ ਢਿੱਡ ਵਧਾਏ ਆ, ਹੋਰ ਕੀ ਆ। ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਬੀਬੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਆ ਬਾਬੇ ਦੇ ਮੂੰਹ 'ਤੇ ਨਾ ਲਾਲੀ ਚੜ੍ਹੀ ਆ ਨਾਮ ਜਪ ਜਪ ਕੇ, ਮਾਸ਼ਾ ਅੱਲਾਹ। ਉਹ ਪਿਆਰਿਓ ਸਵੇਰੇ ਕਿਲੋ ਬਦਾਮ ਖਾ ਲਓ, ਸ਼ਾਮ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਲੋ ਕੈਸ਼ੂ ਨਟ ਖਾ ਲਓ, ਲਾਲੀ ਆਪੇ ਚੜ੍ਹ ਜੂਗੀ। ਇਹ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ? ਫਿਰ 8 ਘੰਟੇ ਰਾਤ ਨੂੰ ਸੌਂ ਜਾਓ, 8 ਘੰਟੇ ਦਿਨੇ ਸੁੱਤੇ ਰਹੋ। ਜਦੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਮਿਲਣਾ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਚੇਲਾ ਪੁੱਛਦਾ ਬੀਬੀ ਕੀ ਕਰਨ ਆਈ ਆ, ਆਖੇ ਜੀ ਕੇਲੇ ਦੇਣ ਆਈ। ਹਾਂਜੀ ਬਾਬਾ ਜੀ ਉੱਠ ਖੜੇ, ਕੇਲੇ ਦੇ ਦਿਓ। ਦੂਜੀ ਬੀਬੀ ਕੀ ਕਰਨ ਆਈ ਆ, ਬਾਬੇ ਨੂੰ ਸਵਾਲ ਪੁੱਛਣਾ, ਬਾਬਾ ਜੀ ਨਾਮ ਜਪਦੇ ਹੋ, ਫਿਰ ਆ ਜਾਓ। ਜੇ ਕੁਛ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਈ ਆ ਬਾਬਾ ਜਾਗਦਾ, ਜੇ ਕੁਛ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਈ ਤਾਂ ਬਾਬਾ ਸੁੱਤਾ। 8 ਘੰਟੇ ਰਾਤ ਨੂੰ ਸੁੱਤੇ, 8 ਘੰਟੇ ਦਿਨੇ ਸੁੱਤੇ, ਫਿਰ ਲਾਲੀ ਚੜ੍ਹਨੀ ਹੈ, ਹੋਰ ਕੀ ਕਰਨਾ। They were taken for a ride in all that. Pacha says yes, Nanak Gurmukh, spirituality, the Shabd enables realization of the creator within. A realization mar ke honi hai. Move to the next body, body 37. Gurmukh Shastra Simrat Ved. Now the word Ved sometimes appears as Veda. It all depends on how much of emphasis Guru Nanak wants to give to the verse. So here Ved is, you know, heavier in accent than Ved. Now the translation given to us, the Gurmukh understands the Simritis, the Shastras and the Vedas. You know? So the critic, Gurmukh with the Sihari, mistranslated as Gurmukh. And secondly, understanding the Simritis is not a Gurmat principle. If we were meant to understand the Simritis and the Shastras and the Vedas, फिर Guru Granth Sahib ਦੀ ਕੀ ਲੋੜ ਸੀ? In Gurbani, Guru Nanak Pacha and the other Gurus and the Pagas have made it clear that we have rejected these pre-1468 spiritualities. Pandit Mullah chhade do. Before that he says, Hamara chagra raha na ko. I have absolutely no issue with these people anymore. Not with the people. Pandit Mullah jo likh diya. All the spirituality that they have advanced to the world, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਲਿਖ ਦਿਆ। ਪੰਡਤ ਮੁੱਲਾ ਜੋ ਲਿਖ ਦਿਆ ਛਾੜ ਚਲੇ, ਹਮ ਕਛੂ ਨਾ ਲਿਆ। So why is there a need to be understanding something that the Gurbani already says छोड़ चले, छाड़ चले, है ना? So we have to be very clear in what Pacha is saying, because we take the context of what is running over there, then we put it together. Gurmukh means spirituality of the Shabd. Shastra and Simritis, yes, Shastra refers to the Shastras. Now the word Simrat has a Sihari to it, which means the content, yeah? The spiritual content. And Ved refers to the Vedas. Because the Da doesn't have an anchor, it's plural. So now we know that it refers to the 4 Vedas. So obviously now Guru Nanak is there, okay, having a conversation with people who are actually rooted in the Shastras, in the Simritis and in the Vedas. You see? And there Guru Nanak, until Pauri 36 just now, is telling them that the real spirituality is in the spirituality of the Shabd, in the messages of the Shabd, the enlightenment, the knowledge, the Gyan that is within the Shabd. That's where the real spirituality is, and they are arguing on the basis of Shastra, Simriti, Vedas. Would Guru Nanak now come and tell them that you are going to get an understanding of the Simritis and the Vedas? No, they already have it. Obviously, Guru Nanak would not tell that to us Sikhs. I need some idea. We need to be able to discern that much from the story until Pauri 36. Yeah? So we put it all together. The spirituality of the Shabd enables a spiritual evaluation of the content, the spiritual content of the Vedic texts, of the Shastras and Simritis. So, this is what's happening. When Parsha is responding to them based on the spirituality of the Shabd, now they are raising concerns based on the spirituality of their understanding. So Parsha's response to them at that point of time is that you need a proper evaluation, and that evaluation will come from the Shabd. In the larger context, the message towards Sikhs is very simple, that once we have the spirituality of the Shabd as our chosen spirituality, then we don't need any other spiritualities. That is what the evaluation outcome is going to be, because the evaluation outcome is not provided here. The evaluation outcome is provided in the 1429 pages elsewhere by Guru Nanak and by other gurus and by the Bhagats. So it is our duty to find out what kind of evaluation. Bao Shastra, Bao Simriti, that's one evaluation by Guru Arjan Pacha. Bao Shastra, Bao Simriti, Pek hai Sarv Tandol. Peck has studied, Tandol researched. So they have been, I have researched them. Bao Shastra, Bao Simriti, Pek hai Sarv Tandol, Pujas Nahi Har Hare. There is no spirituality of the Creator within them. Where is it? Nanak Naam Abol. It is in the acquisition of godly virtues, which is not part and parcel of these texts. See, that's an evaluation. It is done by us. Another evaluation by Guru Amardas Pacha, Jog Jog Apo Apna Dharma hai. Every period, every time frame has got its own spiritual ways. So now is not the time for that. Down the line, they will ask Guru Nanak the same question. So if you say it's not the time, then now is the time for what? They will ask him that. We will deal with those questions. That's another evaluation. But generally across the board in Gurbani, the evaluation has been given. We need to understand the evaluation. So here Parsha is saying the evaluation can come from the enlightenment of the Shabd. Gurmukh pavai kat kat ped. So the translation given is, the Gurmukh knows the secrets of each and every heart. Put up your hand, how many wants to know all these things? I don't even know my own secrets properly. I have trouble with my own self. Why I want to bother knowing secrets of you people, Again, meri apni neend haram hoi pai with my own issues, So, knowing the secret of each and every heart is not a Gurmat principle. Of course, it is not possible in the first place. No? This may be claims made by some Babas and some, Chelas here and there, but obviously not. So, what are let's look at the words one by one. Now, Gurmukh, spirituality of the Shabd, the power realizes kata kata, because it's a syari to all the kata. Okay? Kata refers to the mind, yeah? The dictionary meaning of kat is inside, andar. Here, kat means within all. Ped is understanding. There are no secrets in Guru Nanak's spirituality. Let's get one more basic principle right. Guru Nanak's spirituality is an open discourse for everyone. Anyone and everyone is entitled to read and understand and find out and practice it. There are no secrets. Nothing has been kept a secret by Guru Nanak. In other words, all that existed within the depths of Guru Nanak's spirituality, Guru Nanak has emptied it all out for us Sikhs. There are no secrets. Everything. He has provided it all for us. It is Bani. So put it all together, Gurmukh Pavai Katakat Paurees, spirituality of the Shabd creates an understanding and realization of the one who is within all. Kata which, within all, within everything. Now that's a very important realization in the spiritual journey. That's value. Once we accept and realize that the Creator is in everything, everybody, in all His creation, kata, then we start to look at creation differently. Yeah? We start to look at people differently. We start to look at things around us, animate, inanimate, everything is now in a different sense. Yeah? The next verse is Gurmukh Vair Virod Gavave. Very simple words. The Gurmukh eliminates hate and envy. We are right about that. Eliminating hate and envy is desirable, but we need to keep the context. Where for what, virod for what, we need to figure out from the context. Huh? So these are the meanings of the words. Gurmukh spirituality of the Shabd, where is enmity, virod is antagonism, kavave is to eliminate. So we are talking about a conscience, we are talking about a mindset, we are talking about karani, kamai, and we are talking about the previous verse. Huh? The previous verse was realization of Creator who is within all. That's the context. The previous verse. Gurmukh Pavai Kata Ped. So to get this realization that the Creator is within all, then we need to eliminate certain antagonistic thoughts, certain mindsets. So that is what it means. Huh? Gurmukh Vair Virod Kamave, the spirituality of the Shabd eliminates enmity and antagonism towards realization of the one who is within all. So Pacha is saying even this concept that the Creator is within all, evokes antagonistic reactions in the mind on the basis of our five vices. So that is what is meant by the enmity and that antagonism, not towards, in the general sense, the temporal sense, not enmity towards our neighbors and towards the community or people, but it is towards the thought itself, towards the realization of the one who is within all. The next verse is Gurmukh Sagali Ganata Metave. The translation, the Gurmukh erases all accounting, has got two problems. One is Gurmukh is mistranslated, and secondly, erasing all accounting is not a Gurmat principle. Accounting of what? Yeah. See, we are going back into the Vedic, the pre-1468 belief systems. That there is an accounting. There will be an account after we die. You see, and there's a need to make sure that when we appear in that court after we die, that the account book that's open is clear. It's in the black. Right?
Pacha says, Nanak jinko Sadgur milya, tinka lekha nibbadeya.
Look at that. I mean, this is the most powerful verse you can ever think of to say that मैं अपना लेखा अकाउंटिंग आप निबेड़िया इत्थे निबेड़िया हुण केड़ा रह गया भी उत्थे जाके करना कुछ धर्मराज जब लेखा मांगे जड़ा ये मेरे अंदर बैठा धर्मराज मेरा कॉन्शियंस मेरा लेखा मंगदा पैर पैर ते मंगदा मैं पैर पैर ते निबेड़ी जाना ये है सिख स्पिरिचुअलिटी so this I'm asking the question what is the need to erase all accounting? Bhakt Kabir says, I have to erase nothing because I create no account. Okay? So keep the account right. It's not about erasing the account, it's about keeping the account right at all times. The Gurmukh spirituality of Shabd, Sagali, all Ganat counts eliminates. Yeah? So what kind of counts do we need to eliminate? The counts of the previous verse. The enmity and the antagonistic. The spirituality of the Shabd enables the elimination of all counts of enmity and antagonism. We had lots and lots of antagonistic and inimical views against the principle that the Creator is within all. So now the Shabd tells us to eliminate all the counts. In other words, all the arguments, all the justifications, all the so-called faulty logic that we have, that I can't think like that. So how do we do that? Pansha says, Bissar gai sab taat parai. You see? Sari taat parai, sari antagonism, sari enmity. Bissar gai, kis tarah bissar gai? Jab te saad sangat mohe pai. Now, if you translate this Sar Sagat to be the Sar Sagat in the Gurdwara, then you're going to say, I have been going there for 40 years, meri ta koi taat parai nahi hui. So that's not the meaning of Sar Sangat. Sad refers to Guru, Shabd, and Sangat refers to the coming on the same wavelength. There is no communion other than the communion of the mind. It is the meeting of the minds that's most important. So, Onu can they Sar Sangat, our mind to meet with the Guru's mind. Bisar gai sab taat parai jab te saad sangat mohe pai nako beri nahi begana. ਹੁਣ ਮੈਂ ਸੋਚ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕਦਾ ਵੀ ਆ ਮੇਰਾ ਬੈਰੀ ਹੈ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਗਿਆਨ ਦਿੱਤਾ the Shabd has provided me that enlightenment. Because the enlightenment is there already, I can't think of this person as a begana. Kabir says, Avval Allah noor paya kudrat ke sab bande ek noor te sab jag upja kaun phale ko bande. So I am no longer in a position to make that judgment anymore that he is good, he is bad. I am good, you are bad. Because ek noor te sab jag upja. See, this enlightenment comes from the Shabd. Agli hai Gurmukh Ram Naam Rang Rata. The translation given to us is the Gurmukh is imbued with love for the Lord's name. Okay, again we are caught in all the polemics of Lord's name and love of the Lord's name. It is clarification, yeah. Otherwise, these are just empty things that people mouth here and there. I don't know how you can love a name. Somebody please enlighten me. Huh? How do you love a name, especially when somebody has every name under the sun? The Creator has all the names, and if you don't like the existing names, please create one of your own. Acceptable. Acceptable. That's my name for my Creator. I mean, I look at the Creator in my own way and give him my own name. That's allowed, that's fine. The words one by one, Gurmukh Pyareo. Gurmukh refers to with the Sihari spirituality of the Shabd, messages within the Shabd. Ram refers to the omnipotent creator. Nam refers to godly virtues, that's why it's in the plural. Rang is love, Rata is imbued. Ranga in Gurbani always refers to love. Yeah? Gurmukh Ram, Nam, Rang, Rata. Spirituality of the Shabd enables me to be imbued in the love of virtues of the omnipotent creator. The subject matter here is to be imbued in the love of virtues. What happens when we want to do virtues? Back to Nam, Dan, Ishnan, yeah? Living a life of virtues as the biggest Dan. If it is done without Rang, without Rata, then two things can happen. Number one, it is temporary. Number two, it cannot be done. They cannot be an example, because sooner or later the real colors are going to show. Okay, the next verse, the final verse of this body, 37, Nanak Gurmukh Khasam Pachata. Again, Nanak without the Ankar. Not the subject of the verse. O Nanak, the Gurmukh realizes his Lord and Master. The only issue with this translation is the Gurmukh being mistranslated. Yeah? Khasam in this verse refers to the Master, the Creator. Pachata refers to recognize in the literal sense. In the spiritual sense, Pachata is to realize. And Gurmukh, again from within the Guru's mind, messages within the Shabd, spirituality of the Shabd. Putting it all together, this is the last verse. Nanak, the spirituality of Shabd is the one that enables me to realize my Creator. So that's my way, that's my objective, that's my process. I have realized the Creator within by the spirituality of the Shabd. Okay, Gurmukh Pyareo, we have come to the end of Pauri 37. And are there any comments, any questions, any clarifications you need? You can raise them now.
So this body is also about realization of the Creator.
Yes. This body is about realization of the Creator as the objective. This body is about the processes, the ways, the means. The conscience is involved, virtues are involved, Singhj is involved, virtuousness is involved. And this body, thirdly, is about all this being derived from the spirituality of the Shabd. It is all about spirituality of the Shabd. It's all about an objective and the process. You know, the process is from the Shabd, but he's explaining the process, the need for the conscience, and we look at the need for Nam, Dan, Ishnan, the need to keep ego, in check, in control within the parameters of spirituality, and the need for virtues, the need for Singhj, the need for the elimination of the fear of death, the need for the eviction from our mind, the desire to keep on living, the need to not fight the hukum of the Creator. So that's the process that we have discussed in these bodies. Thank you for coming, and thank you for listening. Till I see you again in the next class. Sare gaj ke fateh bulao. Vaheguru ji ka khalsa, Vaheguru ji ki fateh.